Let's go to Mark chapter 11, and I'm going to start this teaching today and talk to you about this incident at the fig tree. And to set this up, we're going to start in verse 20, but what had happened prior to this was Jesus went to this fig tree to get some figs to eat. He was hungry, and there was no figs on this tree. And so he cursed it. Now, I don't advise that. He cursed this fig tree, and he said, "Let no man eat fruit from you hereafter forever." And so he actually cursed the fig tree because it didn't have any fruit, and they came back by this fig tree the next day. This is Mark 11, verse 20. He said, "Now in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the roots." So Jesus had cursed it, and it had died, but they didn't see any evidence of it the day he cursed it. And that's kind of like faith, isn't it? You begin to believe God, and nothing changes. I mean, everything is just like it was. But that doesn't mean that something's not happening. That doesn't mean it's not working. So don't misread the fact that things don't change instantly when you believe God. So he cursed it. They came by the next day and they saw that it was dried up by the roots, and they were surprised. And Peter, remembering, said to him, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree which you has cursed has withered away." He was so shocked. And Jesus used this as an opportunity to teach them about faith. He said in verse 22, Jesus answered and said to them, "Have faith in God." Have faith in God. And I'm going to read the next two verses, but we're going to come back to this one. "For assuredly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, 'Be removed and cast into the sea,' does not doubt in his heart, but believes that those things which he says will be done, he will have whatever he says." Verse 24, "Therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you will have them." I just love this. When it comes to faith, if you look at faith in the New Testament, there's these words attached to faith, like all things and whatever things and whatsoever you desire. Jesus told the man who brought his son with the deaf and dumb spirit, if you can believe, all things are possible. This simply means that faith works in every area of your life. You don't just have to limit your faith to salvation. And I'm sad to say that some Christians, that's all they've ever done with their faith. They believe God to save them, and they're saved. They're Christians, and they have the assurance of their salvation, and they know that when they die, they're going to go to heaven, and that's priceless. I'm not diminishing that whatsoever, but I'm saying when you have faith in God, you can just expand it to other areas. There is no area of your life that's off limits to faith. Jesus said it himself. He said he'll have whatever he says if he believes it. And then he said, whatever things you desire when you pray, believe that you receive them and you'll have them. If we're not using our faith for other things other than salvation, we are just cheating ourselves. It's time to expand our faith. It's time to believe God for more. It's time to take Jesus at His word. And He said this. He said in verse 22, we're going to go back there, have faith in God. And that's really where it all starts. It's very interesting that He told them to do this. That means it's something you can do. Having faith in God is within your ability. It is your decision. And as I've said many times doing this series, the faith option is an option we have. And I don't know about you, but I am so grateful to God that I don't have to face life like everyone else. I don't have to face life like the world, like people who don't have Jesus. I don't have to just wait and see what the world does to me or what the world allows me to do. I have the faith option. I don't have to hang on every word of the media or the news. I don't have to hang on every report from the stock market or the economy. We can choose the faith option. We have this lifestyle available to us, and Jesus is encouraging them. Right here in verse 22, He said, have faith in God. Now I want to make a few statements about faith. It would be unfair for Jesus to tell us to have faith if we couldn't have faith. If it was impossible for us to have it, if it was impossible for some people to have it, and if it was impossible for you to have it, then he would have been unfair to say, have faith in God. No, he said have faith in God because we can do it. It's possible to get faith. It's possible to have faith. It's possible to walk in faith. It's possible to live by faith and experience victory through faith. These things are all possible for each one of us. So when Jesus said this, it wasn't just a suggestion. This is a command. Do this. You're going to benefit if you do this. And you do have faith. If you're a Christian today, you have faith. You have made some faith choices. You have put yourself in a position of faith, at least in that area. And I'm going to prove to you that you do have faith, that you do have the spirit of faith. In other words, if we can see how faith comes, then we can see how to get faith, how to grow in faith, and how to use our faith for benefits in life. So I want to talk about how faith comes. If you are able to have faith in God, and if you do have faith in God, then where did it come from? Now, let me make this statement. Faith is not a feeling, and what most people do is they try to feel faith, and they try to make sure they feel like they're believing and feel like there's this force of faith within them, and they go so much by feelings that it erodes their confidence, because you don't always feel faith. You don't always feel saved. You don't always feel like you're going to heaven, like you're a Christian, like you're forgiven, like you're holy. You don't always feel like a new creation, but you are. So faith is not something that we should measure by feelings. That's not how faith is measured. But how did it come? Where did faith come? How are you so sure, you may ask, that I have faith? Man, you may not feel like you have any faith at all. You may be sitting there saying, you know what? You're preaching to somebody else. I just don't have any. I mean, if I had some, I'd know it, and I don't have it. I'm telling you, there's just no faith here at all. Well, I guarantee you've got faith. If you believe that there is a God, that's faith. You've already jumped in. You're already part of this process. You've already got faith in your heart. It's just a matter of expanding it. All right, so let's look at Romans 12:3. Romans 12:3. You're telling me I have faith. How did I get faith? Romans 12:3 says, "For I say through the grace given to me to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, as God has dealt to each one a measure," or the measure of faith. So God has dealt the measure of faith. You do have faith. You have the measure of faith. We'll talk more about how it comes, but I just want to tell you the Bible is true. And if God has dealt to people the measure of faith, then you've got your measure. You've got faith. If you go to Ephesians 2:8, he says it this way, "For by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God." So if you're saved, you got saved by faith. You can't get saved any other way. Nobody got saved accidentally. Nobody got saved ignoring God, and God just saved them in spite of themselves. Everyone who's born again, everyone who's a Christian got saved by faith. And that faith, he goes on to say, is a gift of God. So we couldn't even do that right. God had to do everything for us. Jesus came to pay the price, to make up the difference, to pay our debts, to live the life that we couldn't live. And then when he got it all provided through grace, which made everything available, then he had to give us the faith so we could believe it.
The faithful financial support of our partners enables us to produce the Good News program. We invite you to donate and partner with us today. Learn more at gregfritz.org.